Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dean Singleton. I'm the Dean of the Lubin School of Business. I'd like to welcome you to the Dean's Roundtable this afternoon. I'm pleased to welcome Mr. Ashu Rathor, who is with Ernst & Young and is an alumnus of the Lubin School. Ashu is a U.S. client-serving Ernst & Young executive with over 24 years of experience. He operates from bases in the United States, in New York, in India, in Bangalore, Argentina, Buenos Aires, Dalian, China, and Manila in the Philippines, and other Indian cities. He oversees EY's over 11,000 professionals in a strong global tax and legal delivery team spread across the globe. In July 2019, Ashu was admitted as a member of EY's Global Tax Executive Committee, and since 2016 has been a member of the Global Tax Leadership Group. He joined EY in 2002 in the firm's New York City Times Square office and was admitted to the partnership in 2012. He started his public accounting career with Arthur Andersen in 1999 and has also held positions with the United Nations, the American Red Cross, and Pace University as an intern, accountant, and statistical analyst, respectively. He lived and worked in New York from 1995 to 2016 when he took on multi-location global role with EY as its GDS tax leader. He earned his master's degree from Pace University and is one of the many successful alumni I've had a chance to get to know a bit. Prior to Ashu obtaining his degree from us, he obtained an MBA from European University in Belgium and is a graduate of St. Stephen's College, Delhi University in India, where he obtained his bachelor's degree. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Ashu Rathor. Ashu, welcome. Would you take a moment to tell the audience a little bit about yourself, and then we'll open up for questions.
Thank you, Dean. It is a privilege and honor to be here today, and you have already narrated a whole bunch of stuff about me, especially the number of places I am present at the same time. So I like to say I'm based out of Cloud, and as I look at the attendance today, I'm really honored to have Professor Antonini here, as for all of you to know, he was my professor in 90s when I was at Pace, and his daughter was just born, and she was on his laptop, and I understand she's grown. She has become a wonderful young lady and completely transformed. So my affiliation with school is at least now 25 plus years ago, and I can tell among all the degrees that Dean Singleton talked about, the one that made the most difference was my education at Pace. And as I share that, it's not just because I'm here talking to you. I carry that message all the time since my graduation. I had done my undergrad in India, as you heard, my master's, another degree prior to coming to Pace. And I've considered myself at that time not skilled and overqualified. So most of the positions that I was applying for by my MBA in international business management made me overqualified, and or I didn't have a particular skill with a bachelor's or a master's degree. In that process, I come across in my research a Pace University, a school known for producing certified public accountants, and especially in that time, and how many Big Four and middle tier and smaller firms that recruited at Pace, and for an international blend. For me, I was a foreign student. I also needed sponsorship, so the professions at that in that time that supported that were accounting and computer science. And I grew up, of course, in an Indian family, which was very fascinated with computer science and programming. So I was highly being motivated to take on a course in information systems. But it turned out that I had a little bit of free time, and I went to volunteer at American Red Cross And they asked me, where would you like to volunteer? So when you have free time, always make good use of it. And a lot of, even my mother questioned that, why would you just do a volunteer work? Because I said, because I'm not authorized to work and I want to get some experience while I have a couple of free months in between. So I went there and they told me that when they asked, I said, where do you need the most anyone who can volunteer? They said in accounting. And hence I was in American Red Cross doing accounting work. And I came across, I was in the controller's office, managing petty cash register and making general entries in DOS-based J.D. Edwards accounting system. And as I did that, I really became fond of it. And the people who were paid to do the work would ask me, when will I leave for at the end of the day, because they couldn't go home because I was sitting there making entries and preparing work papers. They found it difficult to step away when a volunteer was still on. So the controller heard of me, they called and they asked me, why would you not work in a Big Four accounting firm? I said, I surely would love to. And then they introduced me to their auditors. And the auditors came in and I met with them and they said, we would love to hire you, but we need you to be eligible to study for CPA, to sit for the CPA exam. And at that point is when I started checking, where can I get that credential? And Pace University, clearly showed out. And I had registered at Pace for Masters in Information Systems. I came to the admissions office, I changed my major. That was a great thing, very flexible admissions team quickly put me in accounting, and that changed my life. I joined Pace, I learned everything that I apply even today. Of course, debits and credits was a start, developing trial balances, P&Ls, balance sheet, consolidating financial statements, international accounting, and then comes taxation. Individual taxation is where I got the great benefit with Walter here and the teachings in the two classes we had, and with Professor Barella after that. Having said that, my very first job, Dean talked about, I was on campus. I got my first paid job on campus at Pace, and in the what is now known as the physician assistant program. It used to be on 3rd or 4th floor, and it had just started, and they were looking to compile data. The program was run by Kathleen Roche, if I remember correctly, at that time, and she hired me to do statistical analysis. So while I was studying, I would come after my classes, and I was sitting, or during my breaks between classes, and I worked there for good 10 months. I started at $5.50 per hour, and Kathleen, within 6 months, gave me a raise and got me to $12 an hour. They found my work very useful, and we were able to get the program accreditation because the physician assistant accreditation groups were visiting us, and we needed to prepare it. So that's what we accomplished. But in that period, another group in PACE was the Co-op and Career Services, which I was blessed to meet very early in my time at Pace. Most students, sometimes I realized, have spent a couple of years, and then they find out that there is something called career services and co-op. So I was lucky, I was guided to them very early. They prepared my resume very well, and career fairs were happening in the ground floor of the building behind me in my background, which was the students' council office, I believe, and that's where I had dropped my resume to a company called Arthur Andersen, and I met them. They asked me, "What are you looking for?" And I said, "I'm looking for an internship. This is fall." And they said, "Well, our summer internship is much later, but in spring, the only group that is looking for interns is tax, because April 15th is our busy season period." So I said, "I'm looking for an experience, and that would be great." And after that, I was told that mostly career fairs don't result in much interview opportunities. They are more marketing opportunities. So I was not very optimistic. in the meantime, I got interviews from Co-op in KPMG, in a whole bunch of mid-tier firms, as well as Ernst & Young at that time. But surprise, surprise, one day I was outside of the city, and I was called at 5 p.m. by Career Services to tell me that tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., Arthur Andersen wants to interview. And the call came to my mom. There were no cell phones at that time. If there were landlines, and or if there were, we at least didn't have. They were very clunky equipments. So she reached to me somehow, and I traveled 8 hours that evening. And at 9 a.m., or even it was, I think, 8 a.m., it was the first interview. I had my in Park Row office on the right side, it's actually on the left side, right? I don't know which way. This side, the Park Row offices, and I went up and I met the interviewer. There were about 10 students, and I was selected for office visit. And in office visit, out of the 2 that they invited, I got an offer. And the story is that I received offer and offer after. I had about 20 offers, and Andersen was the most compelling one. And I joined them as an intern. Then I became a staff. Of course, I graduated from PACE with my master's. And then I realized there was a huge network of PACE alumni in all the big 4. Arthur Andersen had them, Ernst & Young has them, and partners everywhere. So the power of PACE then stayed with me during my work life. Of course, I worked hard. I applied myself, and in 2002, when Arthur Andersen, you guys may be too young to know that, but Arthur Andersen ran into problem with Enron, a company called Enron, which was found to have produced financial statements which were inaccurate, and Andersen audited them. They had offshore units with liabilities which they did not report. And that led to Andersen's demise. We had to shut down our business, and the whole group, the good work that I did. The first person I met at Ernst & Young was a PACE alumni, and when they met me, and I told them I am a former PACE student, and I was a senior at that time, there was an immediate connection. The whole group ultimately moved to EY in 2002, and in 5 Times Square. And the whole journey, I did individual taxation, I did corporate taxation, I did international reporting, tax accounting. I got familiar with all the softwares, and eventually business acumen side, we're developing relationships with our clients and winning their trust, bringing them plethora of services from our firm and all the capabilities that we have. Which was found to be quite effective and meaningful. And as a result, I kept getting promoted. Media and entertainment was my industry mostly. So companies like Viacom, CBS, now combined, Time Warner and NBC, Scholastic Publishing, they were all my clients and continue to be. And then I was asked to join partnership in 2012. Now almost 10 years, in few months it will be. And in 2016, I got an opportunity to lead what Dean Singleton described is our Global Delivery Services Unit, which is performing tax work for about 80 countries. United States is the biggest component of it, and United Kingdom. So that's what I have been doing for 5 years now. When I joined, the group was about 4,000 professionals. Now we have tripled it. We are more than 12,000 people at this point in time, and we are in multiple countries around the world. We work around the clock. US corporate work is the biggest work that is done, and in US individual taxes. So I'm very proud of that. And what I can tell you is that joining PACE turned out to be a game-changing proposition for me. Back then, there are so many directions you can take your life, and every turn turns out to be leading you to a path. So just applying myself and getting lucky with my selections here. Of course, PACE was selected with a lot of thought. My mother played a key role in it, and my brother. my brother was doing undergraduate at Pace, and Professor Russo, I don't think if Professor Russo is still there, but he was his professor, and he was a CPA. So my brother would come and tell me all the things about him. And so there was some research and some direction, some luck, and some experience that all pulled me together to get to where I am today. So I'm quite excited to be here and talking to you all and share this background and journey and to interact with you. So with that, maybe I should take a pause, Larry, and give the floor back to you and everyone else here.
That sounds great. Thank you for telling your story. Really interesting story. And it's wonderful to me to hear someone who attributes a lot of their success to what happened to them here at Lubin and at Pace University. We're opening the floor now for questions. You can put them in the chat, Ileana, if that's all right with you, and Ileana can man the chat, or even raise your hand within the Zoom function, and we can get those questions right out to him. I thought I would start with one, if I may ask. You talked about how what you do now, obviously, but what made you want to go into tax as opposed to some other area of accounting? Was that planned? Was it just what fell into your lap? How did that happen?
I think it more is a combination of few things, Larry. Frankly, I had when I came to Pace, I had joined it to thinking that I will become an auditor, and I was looking for experience. Then came Walter's class, and I started getting to know Form 1040, and as that started, I'm started to touch upon, oh wow, there is something called taxation, and getting my hand and feet wet. Then came this career fair where this gentleman from Arthur Andersen said the only group we are looking for right now is in tax for spring, and that's why I said that, listen, I have had at that time, I think I was doing 504. So 503 was already done. So I did tell him that I have a couple of classes in tax, so I could come in and take a look and spend a semester as an intern. And then in summer, I will do my audit internship. And with that experiment, I joined Arthur Andersen. Once I joined there, I really loved the people I came across. And it's the sponsorship and the relationships that I built with the team. And by that time, I was with Professor Barella now in another class, trying to remember, that was mostly structuring, I think. And all that exposure was coming through. And when the internship ended, and I had a KPMG offer to join them for audit internship. Ernst & Young partner, who's still at Ernst & Young, he will retire next year. He was standing at in the copy room where I was making work papers, and I hear him tapping, and I turn around and he says, are you accepting our offer? And I looked at him, and I couldn't say anything but yes, sure. And after that, tax really took a, this was a career that I knew very little about. And the world that came after that, today I feel fortunate that I explored that, and I took that brave decision to take that step. And a couple of courses in tax did help me. And the same question, actually, Larry, was asked in my very first interview by the Arthur Andersen team. They asked me, why would you want to do tax? And my answer back then was that, I'm studying accounting. And by default, I want to specialize in a field which is accounting oriented. And then I referred to the tax courses that I was doing. And the next question they asked me was, would you do corporate or individual tax? And back then, since I had only done 2 courses in individual, I said my only exposure is through those 2 courses, so I can build on them. But my accounting background is strong, so I can do corporate as well. So, and I leave it for you to decide what you think is best. And where you need me the most. I have always used that line even today. So even today, when I talk to my leadership and we talk about where we should head, my answer always is that I can see myself doing many things. Where do you think you need the most help? And my skills can come handy for you. So
that's great. I think that's a great lesson that everybody needs to remember. You know, when you're looking for a job, you're there to satisfy the person you're working for. Yeah, that's a great lesson. Hope everybody's here. Let me ask one more. Well, I encourage people to type your questions in for Mr. Rathor in the chat function. You oversee operations all around the world, really, and I know you travel a lot as part of your work. Which I would think is very romantic. I'm sure it's when you're traveling all the time in all the time zones, it may not always be so romantic, but for students who are looking to have a career where they have the option to travel the world, as part of their professional engagement, what advice would you have for them to help them make that a possibility?
I think having an open mindset, that's very, very important. Sense of adventure is also key. But in the end, it's about the experiences that you will gain and culturally. And that's what an international work entails. And then walking yourself in other shoes, wherever you go in those countries, respecting the local values and incorporating them and making best of them for our profession and our business. So that definitely is a trait. We, in fact, I have been thinking about an international tax internship program and I was the first school I would talk to would be PACE in that respect. If any of our students here would want to explore a semester or maybe a summer in one of our locations around the world for a 2-3 month period, that could be something worth exploring and bringing a group to do. And the beauty of it is you will only do US tax work. So the skills that you will gain from a technical standpoint are related to our US field. So, and on the flip side, you will be in a different country with a different culture and working with a group of people who are developing expertise in US domain. And that to me will be very handy, because if I can look at future, the global delivery, global setup of our industry is taking place not just in tax, everywhere else. Actually, tax is the least, the smallest group. The information systems, IT world, financial reporting work, strategy, management, all these functions have set up, companies like Accenture have set up thousands and thousands of employee-based centers around the world, and they are doing global work. So getting a flavor of that today would be an extra edge, because most students are coming, from a local perspective. They don't have that global exposure. And then the technology and tools that are implemented today. This virtual world has again changed it completely. So that is where I think our students can really take advantage and excel.
Thank you, Ileana. I think there's some stuff in the chat, I think.
Yeah, yes. I'm reading a question. Yeah, here's 5 of the same classes, okay. And what are the hot topics for tax during pandemic? And I would say the mobility landscape shift and the fact that people have to work virtually has created new complications for almost every business, from employment law perspective and your presence, physical presence, and company's nexus or establishment where you are based. So if you were a New York-based company with thousands of employees coming into New York City, now for 18 months, your employees have been based in several other cities and states, if not countries. People have traveled, they no longer live in the places where they work. So now your employee base has moved around, and it has happened unplanned, in an inadvertent manner, in an emergency situation. So there is a lot of leeway from the regulators temporarily, but eventually when this all settles down, and even now the questions are coming up, where are companies based? Where could a company have nexus to file their taxes? Are they now only limited to the city where their office is, or their employees living and working in several states and cities? Are they creating nexus? And so there's a state implication to it, and there is international. Many employees have traveled out, especially the foreign employees have taken advantage of being with their foreign countries. And same the other way around. It's just not from a US perspective, from global perspective. So that element has definitely impacted the mobility landscape. We have a whole business around employees who were deployed around the world in different countries. That landscape has also shifted because suddenly you had to pull back people in COVID to where the native was. So that is undergoing a change. And from the perspective of interesting changes in tax law, well, there have been a lot of aid and relief given by several governments around the world. So COVID has created a lot of opportunities of bailing out businesses, helping out unemployed employees, professionals. And that is happening on a mass scale, including United States, CARES Act. And if you go around the world, in almost every country, you will find something. And so there is a huge opportunity for tax advisors here to come in and make sure that our clients are using them in an optimum manner. So that has happened. There is, of course, non-COVID or COVID, I can't tell, but there is a lot of chatter around minimum taxes regime around the world. A lot of chatter, environment and health topics have come on the forefront. The mental health aspects have also been discussed. And these also are coming into different regulations in different places in different ways. So I would say that our profession is always active. When there are changes in tax law, there are always more opportunities for our profession to help our clients do better and or align themselves to the changing landscape in a way that is most optimal. So, of course, so those are the main ones. And I would let maybe Professor Antonini has a view here. Walter, if you want to talk about something on this.
The only thing that comes to mind is last night I was teaching the class about the NOL, and there was a special rule put into place allowing companies to carry back an NOL for 5 years, which
Correct.
To my experience is unprecedented. I don't recall there ever being a 5-year carryback for NOLs. But that was done to basically, as part of the pandemic acts, to increase the cash available to corporations.
That's right.
That really is, I think, the main thing that comes to mind. I mean, I'm sure there are other changes that don't pop up.
Oh yeah, there's a whole list. Actually, I have a whole document, and NOL carryback was a big one in there. And I think that was last year, right? In the middle of pandemic.
Yes, yeah.
For sure. Was traveling around the world difficult at first, or did it make it easier for you to get familiar with your career and everything that was involved with it? Yeah, no, so I was a very nervous flyer 15 years ago. I would always sit in the center seat of the plane. One bump, and I would be like holding the seat. So from that, today, I get on a plane and fall asleep within 5-10 minutes. And usually I wake up when the plane is landing. And I make sure I get a window seat also. So it's a different place. When I did start traveling, but it really took a different turn in last 5 years, especially before pandemic. And it just naturally, I got so used to it that last 18 months have been a good, pleasant break to be home constantly with very few trips. So I'm enjoying that aspect because I really loved when I was flying every other week. And I would say I'm cloud-based, and I am in a different city every week and a different country every couple of weeks. So from a career perspective, it has helped me a lot because I have developed a great network with our professionals around the world. So what today, if you go to any country, I know their leadership, Ernst & Young's leadership, and they are very familiar with me from a global delivery perspective. So that network having ability to help our clients really increases because our clients are global. And if they have a need in China, I can call the country tax leader of China and get the best people on my clients. And same in Argentina, same in Russia or India. So that part I actually found most useful, apart from, of course, seeing the diverse culture, but how I can use that to help my clients get served the best. Tax regulations change every year. How do you keep track of the tax changes? No one individual can keep that track, Z. However, Ernst & Young as a firm, and I'm sure any other big accounting firm as a firm do keep track of them in a very organized way. We publish, there are whole teams which are involved at a country level to track regulation, and they organize them in a easy, simple way, for our clients to get familiar with. And then we get involved when it comes to solving them or interpreting them in a more complexities of it. So we have a whole team. And for someone like me, I usually get a weekly or bi-weekly report that I glance through and pick on stuff, like Walter pointed out, NOL carrybacks, and try to remember them. But I can tell you, we never stop learning in this profession. It's no one can tell you that I'm a tax expert. You can ask me any question and I will be able to answer that, because there are so many areas of tax. Individual, corporate, in corporations, partnerships, state planning, local taxes, state taxes, you go to different countries, there's a whole bunch of complexities, foreign tax credit. So no one can do that, but we as an industry, as a group, come together and feel confident that if not right away, in 2 or 3 hours, we can find the right person who can solve any tax problem that exists. So, but I think keeping track for me is mostly Ernst & Young provided summaries, weekly dashboards that we get to glance through, dedicate half an hour, 45 minutes every week to do that. That's how you try to keep up with changes. Having said that, I won't claim that after doing it, next day I can tell you what tax laws changed in China or Australia or US. US probably I can a little bit more because I'm a US tax professional. Freddie has asked, oh, I'm an accounting faculty at Lubin, analytics, but not tax. Multiple automation projects, absolutely. RPA, advanced like AI or machine learning, and do you expect graduate students from our tax or accounting program to have those skills? Absolutely. So this is what, so when I narrated my story, a lot of it is outdated, okay? A lot of what I did and what it accomplished today, we frankly, our entering staff would not know that kind of activity or work because it's automated. We no longer are taking documents and entering depreciation reports, the data that I entered. We are not organizing work papers and binders. A lot of all that work has been fully automated. RPA is, I would say 2 years ago, RPA was the hottest thing. And the speed with which now the technology is changing, now it's become old. And I can't believe it. It's like, if I relate to it, again, I'm dating myself. Walkman is ancient history when it was the best solution for me as a young person to listen to music. And then came those iPods and the cell phones. And now, these iPhones showed up a few years ago. So RPA, I would say, is something we have mastered. And we definitely are using RPA, AI, and machine learning. Machine learning, glorified machine learning is AI, is how I have understood. We all feel that AI, we have a lot of hopes from AI, but what we are realizing is that human intelligence is still trumping the machine. So, but we are exploring AI in every respect. But for students, I would say, you graduate now, traditional masters in accounting or tax, I would say back then it was 100% of education. I think today it's probably 60 to 70%. We need to top up with that, with technology. And STEM program and courses are important in every degree. And that's where you will find, for example, when I spoke about for international students, visa sponsorship, it's no longer happening if you are just an accounting or a tax graduate. You have to have STEM in it. And those traits and those skills are very important. And when we are recruiting, that's what we are looking for. In fact, in many of the schools in India and Argentina, we have gone and told the universities to introduce programs where you have both accounting, tax, and technology element in it. We are calling it a degree called ITTS, which is International Tax and Technology Specialization. So, Professor Freddie, that's what I would say. I think that's what you're trying to ask, right, from our students. Please, any major you do, you can't do without it. It's just a different world today. Yuji Nakano, studying Professor Walter's classes last semester, and I have obtained an offer from KPMG to join their corporate tax team. Would you like to give some advice on an incoming tax associate? Yeah, I think for a new person who join either as a staff or an intern, bring your very best attitude, can-do spirit, and create your brand. Create your brand as someone who does quality work at a fast speed. You know, when work is given to you, make sure you don't waste any time. And you make sure you review your work 2 or 3 times before you give it back. And as you do that, you will create a brand for yourself. And that someone who gives us work, which is in good shape. If there are corrections and changes, you will get comments. That is normal. But then make sure that when you are correcting, you learn from those and don't repeat them, okay? If you keep repeating them, that this is normal to get changes, and I'm going to keep making those changes. I will let my senior give me review comments, even though I know this might be wrong. I think you will spoil your brand. So do learn, because after 2 or 3 times, people will conclude that your learning ability is weak and you will not be progressing. That's why it's important. And I can relate to it fully because I joined and I have seen it practically live. We were five new coming staff at Arthur Andersen, and one kid got on a phone, and when our seniors, 5 different seniors gave us work, and I was somehow, I don't know why, I was completely focused on getting it done, and I finished the task and I checked everything again. I found errors, I fixed them, and probably about 2 or 3 hours, I had returned the documents back. Whereas my dear friend sitting next to me, I heard him. He was nothing wrong in listening to music, but he had his headphones back then, and on one ear and the other ear he was on phone with his mama, and he was talking about his girlfriend, that how she's troubling him, and how he can what he should do. And after that, he got done and he stood up, and I'm looking at him and he goes, "We want to come grab a coffee?" And I told him, "I don't want to grab a coffee. I have to finish this." So he goes, "Okay, I will see you." And then he goes away. 2 hours later, when I was done, he had not even opened the work that was given to him or started. So, and that trend continued. One day, the managing partner of our group came. He walked in the corridor behind us and looked at, and I saw him coming, and I was doing my work. He was on phone, and a couple hours later, or maybe half an hour later, an HR person came, tapped on his shoulder, asked him to come, bring your bag. And we didn't see him after that. Okay, so I always remember these anecdotes to share, and then the quality of the work, how you get it done, is very important. Speed, again, I'll summarize: do it fast, stay focused, and do a quality job. Review it. It may take a little longer, so there will be some time that you will need, and that will create your brand. You will rise, you will be rated 5, you will get good bonus, you will get raises, you will get promoted. Repeat the same at a different level, and learn from your mistakes and fix them. Okay. Now I'm down to Sai. Which failures? Professor Vishwanath taught my brother. I was not fortunate enough to be in his class, but my brother was. And Professor Vishwanath was a brand new professor at that time. What failures have you personally or indirectly seen as a professional in your early years after graduating at pace you would advise us to avoid? Well, I just gave you an example of a failure of somebody else. Okay, so that was right there. One advice. Me personally, I don't. Pace and Andersen turned my failures into success, and that's where I had a turnaround and I had a different direction. But instinctively speaking, when I picked something which I didn't have passion for, if I didn't feel for it, that's where I was. So what I did was I corrected it by coming and doing masters in accounting and then taxation. Prior to that, and I will say, every person has their capabilities and their interests. I was being forced towards a profession that I may not have enjoyed the most, and the result was I was not doing great at it. So make sure that and I was lost a little bit as to where should I head. I had done my graduation and I was still not sure what work I want. And frankly, when I joined Andersen, I was one of the older ones, right? Everyone else was undergrad, and I was the one with masters. On the flip side, it gave me more maturity, and I was more serious towards the tasks that came. But be very particular in that sense that make sure you are having fun. If you are not having fun doing something, I think you will not do that well. And to have fun, find positiveness in that. You can always find negative in everything, but find positive even in negative, then you will have fun and you will do well. For international students, what are 2-3 specific things you can encourage us to look into for setting ourselves? I would say that practically speaking, today you should equip yourself with the appropriately right degree that gives you that 3-year work permission. So for those of you who are international students, you all know that there is a 3-year work permission that not every degree gives. So having that STEM element in it will give you that. And today's immigration environment, hopefully it's turning back again with the change in the government, but it is still tough. And it's my time was tough, and now it's even tougher. So make sure you are educated about what you are pursuing. That I would say is number 1. And number 2, of course, is everything else that applies to everyone. Work hard, work smart, do your very best. But I think one key one is to get into the right program, which gives you, career services will tell you that. Phyllis and others will tell you that, which programs you should do, what degrees, what credits you should take. What will you advise students in selecting companies to get the best value for internship from a potential full-time offer? I think, as I narrated, first of all, if you have the luxury of picking a company which does hire after internship straight, there is no separate process, I would follow that company. There are companies who just do internships and they do not convert to full-time job. So if you have an option, you would want to pick where they convert them into full-time opportunities. And as you do that, make sure that again you are focused on your brand and doing a value-added job. So and of course, that's from a full-time offer standpoint, and then pick a field which relates to your education, if that's possible as well. how is EY leveraging business analysis in supporting her clients? That's a good question. EY must be her or him. And what if you can share how EY leverages technology and data in global delivery? Well, everything we do today is around technology and data. And data is what keeps us busy ingesting it. Our marketplace has data spread all over in an unorganized manner. And if they organize it, they all organize it differently. So most of our time is spent in analyzing it and using it for multiple purposes. For tax purposes, we have to make sure that we can pull out areas which are tax sensitive. Not every item is tax sensitive. And companies don't organize their data in that fashion. So that is where we spend a lot of our time. And then taking it, and EY offers, or companies like EY will offer multiple services. Of course, audit is one, accounting and reporting is other, taxation is there, consulting is there, payrolls services, workforce advisory. So a whole bunch of different activities, which the same data is requested from different, at different points. And that becomes redundant and inefficient. So when I talk about automation, when I talk about RPA, artificial intelligence, all these, the STEM courses that you will do, these are all driven to make it more efficient. And that's why the work has changed. First year staff, what we used to do 20 years ago, 15 years ago, 10 years ago, is a lot more different now. Now you don't have to do manual manipulation of data because it's all done by softwares. You are more doing analysis on it. You are applying more tax laws to it, for example, or accounting rules to them, and making sure that the outputs are optimal. So huge money is being spent on this area, how we leverage this, and the one who does it best will be the winner in the market. Anna is asking, other than travel, have you enjoyed any fun perks from working in the media and entertainment industry? Oh, well, I'm not sure about that it is due to working in media and entertainment industry, but most of the big four firms, especially Ernst & Young, has boxes in every arena in the world. So you go to Madison Square Garden, we have our own suite there. We go to US Open, we have our own box, Yankee Stadium, Mets, and in any city you go. So we get a lot of tickets. And we do take our interns also there sometimes. And so I have been blessed with that in past, for sure, and bringing our clients and family and being in all the fun places. The other one, we do take our youngsters to Disney and give them exposure there. And so there is a lot of fun that takes place in the internship with visits. We do organize our, at least before COVID, we organized a lot of our meetings in places like Vegas and Orlando or Miami, and people from all over the offices around the world would come, and great networking and of course socialization. So yeah, EY has a lot of fun perks that we all really get benefit from. So good bunch of questions, and sometimes on each one of these topics I can talk forever, but I try to make sure that we keep moving so that I can cover. Thank you for lovely questions. A follow-up question about
sorry about that.
Students. No, please, Freddie, go ahead. You were saying EY is not sponsoring international students from the graduate. So if international students graduate from STEM. Yes, generally speaking, when there is no specific, as Professor Ntognini will tell you, there is no clear answer. There is always gray answer. So it's never that we are not sponsoring, but it is very difficult. I would say my opinion is that it will be very difficult to find a sponsorship right now in a traditional degree. With a STEM degree, what happens is when with our tax or audit or accounting courses, once those degrees have a STEM element in it, you get 3 years of work permission. Earlier, it used to be 1 year. And with 1 year, the problem is with the normal degree, it's 1 year. And the problem is the immigration system has changed too. Earlier, Big Four used to file your visa and green card, especially visa here, and it was done in order. Who filed, and we were very good at it. We will be the first one, so we will take away the seats. Now it's a lottery system. So it's a luck, and it doesn't happen in 1 year, especially for undergraduate students. It's even more difficult. Graduate students have better chance. So that's why that 3 year gives you more runway. That's one advantage of that. That gives firms more confidence to hire students who they can keep for 3 years and try to get that thing clear. Number two, the skill sets that are required are also aligned with those degrees. So it's better suited for us in that sense. So yeah, you have a much better chance with a STEM accounting, tax, audit degree than you would have with a traditional degree. Having said that, I would never say that it's not black and white, but that's what I will guide. But it rhymed very well. Not black and white, but that's how.
Thank you, Ashu. Thank you so much.
Any other questions for Mr. Rathor?
I think I have one myself. Did you have a mentor while you were at PACE?
Oh, I had plenty of mentors. So PACE had this program to run this program for finding mentors outside. Barry Miller, right? Barry Miller. Yeah, Barry Miller. There you go. I found him. You can't see this in the background. So yeah, Barry was there, and he ran this program. He's with PACE 33 years and 6 months right now. So so he had this program which I actually enrolled in, and there are people like me and others who have given in their names to be mentors. And so you could pick them, and they will call and connect you, and then you can be interacting with folks in different firms and companies, and they will be coaching. So that was there. And then and Barry himself was a good coach. Career services coaching was very effective. I would say my career counselor, Susan Schmidt. No, Susan. Now she's Susan Maxwell, right? Susan Maxwell. Is that her name? Yes, Susan Maxwell Lee. So Susan, no, that's somebody else. Sorry, there was Susan. So I'm forgetting the last name. I think Erica, you might have told her last name. I had told you, I think. So Susan was a new career services counselor, and I used her quite effectively. I would meet her regularly, and they take great pride. Yes, Sue Maxim, sorry, Maxim. Yes, there you go. So Sue Maxim now, and she was very excited to help out students. Our career services office has plenty of mentoring right there, and then we have a program. I think now that program must have enhanced. Back then, it was phone-based. I had to give in my name and select few people, and I'm trying to remember how the database was kept, and then Barry would connect us. Now it must be all online. So that's very effective way of getting to know companies. People call you to their offices. Of course, I'm not sure with COVID how that is going, but that's there. Liana.
Thank you.
Yep.
There's time for one more question if you have any. If I could just expand on the 3-year STEM thing. You and I talked about the importance of STEM programs in the past, but what typically happens at your firm with someone who you hired for 3 years? Do they often transfer in the firm back to their home country? What happens then in most cases?
So Larry, we try to get them visa sponsorship. And in case if we run in a scenario where we are not able to, of course, it's assumed that they are all very good performers, you know. Right. And if the firm is sold on them, then if immigration has not allowed us to get the green card or visa, then we do our very best to move them to the countries they are from and put it in the firm there. Yeah. That too, with an agreement that whenever the visa will come, we will bring you back. And now with GDS kind of a setup, we do US work. So if you are an Indian student, you can go to a GDS center in India. You are an Argentinian student, you can go there. And if you're Chinese, we have a center in Dalian, and Poland and Hungary, also Budapest. So there are several places we have these centers. We can put you in those centers, which gives a perfect experience. And then when the visa comes through, one can be back.
That's great. Great to know. I didn't know if you did that stuff or not. Okay.
Right.
Look, we're just about out of time here. I want to thank you very much. Actually, I think there was another question.
There was a final question, two final questions.
All right.
Yeah. Well, on LinkedIn, you can just find me at Ashu Rathor. It's the same name that's showing up here. If you look up and just you can connect in. I have great network on LinkedIn, as you can imagine. And I do put updates there regularly. So that's way. On a books front, I am one person who shaped my leadership by practical experiences more. And if I say that something that helped me in the very beginning stage, there was this thriving on chaos, and I'm trying to find where it is. I think it's downstairs. It just, I was able to use that. It was introduced in my marketing business school, on my marketing course, if I'm remembering correctly. And the issue, what I have message from that is just, it's as simple as the title. If people are worried about organizing this world systematically, putting it all together so that it can cater to things, but the world runs on its own whims. And my day, I can plan my day, but when I finish the day, it's very different than what I had planned. And that's the reality. COVID came from nowhere. Okay, most of the challenges that humanity faces come from, what I say is from your blind side. You can't see them. So one has to make sure that you make best of what is out there and thriving in this chaotic system. On the other hand, there is great value to continue to work people who have spent their careers in organizing it and making it as systematic as possible by organizing. So, but I have been shaped more with experiences and more looking at the student next to me who was on the phone all the time instead of finishing the work. And I have several anecdotes like that. I have several stories like that, and I have watched from others' mistakes and learned what not to do. Once I had a boss who had very good qualities, but he had some qualities that have prevented him to grow. So his boss, who's now my boss, once told me that learn all the good things and always observe what you will never do, Ashu. What he does that you don't like and why you don't like them. Make sure you will never do that to others, because that is what you need to learn. As many times people learn opposite, the things that he did, which people don't like. Sometimes people pick that he did it, so it was right, so I should also do the same. So your ability to distinguish that and learn from it is key.
That's some great advice. And that's a great way for us to end this roundtable. So I want to thank you very much for being with us. We have a small token of appreciation that you'll be getting in the mail. I can't hand it to you over Zoom, but look for that soon in your mailbox. I want to thank everybody, the students and faculty who took time out of their busy schedules as well to join us. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. It was a privilege. Thank you. Have a good night.
And hopefully we'll meet in person soon, Ashu.
Absolutely.
Thank you.